Hello, and welcome to our new podcast, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful Testers. In this one-off mini-series, software test leaders and recruiters of software testers come together to share stories and give tips and advice on how to secure a long-term career in this amazing industry.
Right, so welcome back everyone. This is the fourth instalment of our podcast with Binni, Beth, George, and Charlie. The last one was discussing utilising your network, and I think this one is going to be about the power of knowledge sharing and stuff like that. So, I think again, I'll kick it off. The biggest thing that we've definitely seen. So, from a sort of recruitment point of view, I would argue that knowledge sharing and being in the office is one of the most important things that we can do. So any information about any company or whatever it might be, or just anything to do with anything, we like in the office. Like the biggest thing you'd be able to do is share. Since lockdown has changed, that has become. I know this is slightly off topic in regards to like sharing knowledge, but it's definitely something that we've tried to have like stress towards, just because whatever it might be. I don't know, any particular company that are making redundancies or whatever it could be. If I sort of had something like this at the beginning, I wouldn't necessarily share it just because I'm not in the office and I can't really say anything to anyone or like whatever it might be now, unless I put it in this particular channel. But I think the power of knowledge sharing that I've seen over these last couple of weeks is we've just had to absolutely focus on stressing the importance of it and making sure, especially working in remote teams, we haven't lost that sort of the actual knowledge sharing, I guess. With you over at Smoothwall, is that something that you like see a lot of value in, I guess, in regards to knowledge sharing? Or
Yeah, for me, like I'm quite a big pusher for sharing knowledge.
right, okay,
So when I came into my role here at Smoothwall, I was like, all as testers, let's get together and understand what's going on with each other. There was a bit of a divide in the sense of understanding what the products each individual was working on and how everybody has been working.
Yeah, it's easy to feel siloed and get into a mentality where you just care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think what Binni's introduced here, which has been really effective, is like a community of practice.
okay,
So kind of I think Lee, is it Lee Matthewman? What's his name? He goes by the Pirate Tester on LinkedIn. I don't know his surname. Anyway, sorry, Lee. he did a really cool video the other day about communities of practice, COPs he called them, and that is what you've done. I didn't term it as that, but that's what you did. So you got all the testers together and said, we are, aside from the work that you're doing day to day, we are a group of individuals that have been tasked with a very similar task, and what we should do is share best practice, help each other grow. So sometimes we'll have a meeting that's just about, it's a voluntary thing, you go and you'll talk about how best to use Git, what's your Git branching strategy, and you can get little snippets of advice from people, or someone might come and say, I've done a proof of concept of this test automation framework, what do you think? And stuff that is outside of the realm of their individual job, but it can be shared across the group.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped us have like the tightest group of sort of practitioners in the company, because we all have an equal presence in that meeting. We can all contribute to that meeting, and it is really super helpful.
Definitely.
Genuinely.
I feel like sharing your abilities with other people. So like, for example, you might have one of the testers who might be super awesome at Postman or super awesome at Git.
Yeah.
And sharing that particular knowledge with the rest of the team is beneficial because it helps everybody else in that team grow. But the other thing that I've found which has been good is sharing your experiences of how you're dealing with things on your team, how things are going process-wise, how things are going with the way your team are functioning. You know, like we were saying, sometimes you have to learn how to work with particular individuals and understand what works best for them and how you have to adjust to work with them, you know. All of these kind of things that you do day in, day out, sharing it within your team of testers who are all working in different areas and different places, it just allows for you to see things maybe at a different angle. You could take something away from that and use that on your own team.
Yeah, so we've had tips. Someone would say things like, do you do your automation at the start or the end of the sprint? How do you put that in your tickets? Do you take your tickets over into the next sprint? And then we'll just have a conversation collectively. And you feel like as a result of that, you're coming up with a best practice approach rather than just what you think might work. You feel bolstered that you're doing the right thing because you've all agreed to it collectively. And I think that just bakes that best practice in, sprinkles it across all of the teams. So definitely if you're that kind of person that wants to share and has that natural training or mentoring, coaching, call it what you want, but you have that ability, that's so undervalued, being that person.
Massively,
so we had someone here who was actually the person that I did my talk with you guys, Dave Vardy. So he was here when I joined, and he's a real technical guru, but he used to be a teacher.
Right,
so
okay.
And fun fact, he was also training to be a hypnotist, a stage hypnotist.
Okay.
Which I never told you, but he definitely had that ability to just draw you in. It's really funny. So he was amazing to teach you stuff because he came from that background of it was important that you learned, not just that he threw information at you. And he managed to teach 8 of us who had some had more automation skills than others, but some had next to nothing. And now we're all using automation all the time, and we've been able to grow that. So you've got one person that could sit in their own little silo and put the headphones on and never interact with anyone, and they could do some good stuff on their own. That'd be nice. But then he's not even here anymore, and there are 8 people that can do his job. So that's the value that you bring to a company when you have that sharing mentality, and also you have a learning mindset as well. Nobody's above learning new stuff. And if you consider yourself above being told something by someone that you consider more junior to you, I just think, don't do that. Because no one's above it, and we do learn from everybody, really.
It's really good to just have, a sharing kind of mentality, because everybody you're working with, if everybody has good amount of knowledge, it's only going to benefit you, right? I think sometimes people may hold back from wanting to share information because it might be that they want to maybe just be the one that knows it, or
the guardian.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's my attitude towards that's totally opposite. I think it's so beneficial to have somebody who's just giving everybody all of the knowledge that they could need, because as you say, like David, for example, we used to go to the school of David, basically, and
sit down.
and go through a set out course, of starting to end of what we needed to start off with for automation, and gradually built it up to more technical capabilities. And now everybody's able to just crack on with the automation, and every so often we're learning new things that we've found out because XYZ doesn't work, and we're figuring things out. But he basically was this big knowledge sharer to help everybody learn, and it's just made a massive impact, hasn't it?
I was going to say, I think
those people are just golden, aren't they?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that I've sort of like grown to realise, especially when it comes to knowledge sharing, like you can either be someone that doesn't share any knowledge at all. You can either be someone that shares like what they have to. So say it's that like it's your job to share a particular piece of knowledge or whatever it might be. And then there's certain people who will they see the benefit of just sharing like whatever they can. So going out of their way, basically, I'd say, is if you have, I don't know, like a senior tester who's it's not their responsibility to sort of train or look after a more junior tester, but having someone there that might see them struggling or saying, oh, so do you want me to have a look at this, or whatever it might be. I definitely think that's something that should be valued by employers a lot more.
That's just being nice, isn't it? We need more people who are just nice, just be helpful and be nice.
I think more employers should make it part of their responsibility. I think people should be given the time to train effectively, rather than being constantly up against the deadline, and it's kind of a nice to have to show someone how to do something. It should be such a core part of someone's role, because it's a massive benefit.
Well, I've seen where, you know, there's not been any time given for people to upskill and learn something, which has meant, for example, automation has took, you know, it's been lowest priority on things to do, but you know, once you actually got the automation in place, you almost kick yourself, because you're just like, I wish I had this a long time ago.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I would have actually saved so much time if we'd have just gave the testers the time to do it earlier on. It's such a common scenario, I bet, across a lot of companies, because people just always want to try and get things done quickly, deadline, which is obviously understandable in certain predicaments, but I think it's not often seen how important it is to allow that individual to upskill.
Yeah.
To save so much time and money afterwards.
Yeah. And I think the thing about like you say, I think you're spot on there, Sam, with your analogy about having people that won't give any information away, or they give only the bare minimum, and you can tell that they're doing it reluctantly. You know, you can feed off that energy that they're kind of, it's the bare minimum, and they think they're protecting their position and they're protecting their job by being the only one that knows how to run this batch script, or the only one that knows how to do this thing. And maybe they are in the short term, but in the long term, like, I wouldn't work with that person again. And you know, how I kind of think about things like, you might be in a job for between 1 and say 5 years. Most people, that's I guess the average length that you're in a job, something like that, right? So if you're in your 30s now, you've got a lot of more people to work with, and different jobs to have in your career. So be the person that you would want to work with. You know, be that person that's happy to share your knowledge liberally, because you might be sharing that knowledge with someone that will be your boss in 5 years' time, you know.
Exactly.
I remember I interviewed Binni.
I knew he was going to go there.
It goes to show.
But he's just tapping her fingers waiting for it.
I interviewed Binni when I worked at QA, and we really wanted her, obviously, because she's awesome. And Binni chose Smoothwall instead, and then, unbeknownst to Binni, because we didn't know each other aside from that interview, right? I then applied to work at Smoothwall, and just from that short connection, like, she remembered that you know, what I was like
how
to interview.
awesome you was.
So even but like it just goes to show, even something like interviewing people, you might think that's something where they're the ones that are on the spot, you know, they're the ones that need to prove their worth, but actually they're kind of interviewing you at the same time, and you don't know when you're gonna get some value from that. So just always be nice to people. Because if I was a horrible interviewer, then Binni might have said,
That's actually a brilliant example, because I can literally tell you, like, when I seen your CV, I was like, yes. I was like, yes, brilliant. She was awesome. So just that small interaction did actually cause such a positive impact that I was like, we'll just put her through the door.
She's got the job. Give her what she wants, she's got the job.
You've made it to the end of the 7 Habits of Highly Successful Testers podcast. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to bringing you more of the 7 Habits soon. Till next time, goodbye.